Ladies and gentlemen, after the Philadelphia Phillies' historic loss last night, followed up by the Philadelphia Eagles losing to the 1-4 New York Giants, getting absolutely diced up by Jackson Dart, the Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah, I said it. The Philadelphia 76ers are our only hope for happiness. Well, the Eagles could still figure it out. The Phillies season is over in the second series-ending error in playoff history. You know, the thing about Philly sports is that it's not just always terrible. It's somehow always the worst thing ever. Kawhi Leonard, 4 bounce shot, the only Game 7 buzzer beater in NBA history. Who does that happen to? The Philadelphia 76ers. Series-ending error by a pitcher, by a pitcher trying to throw the ball back home when he should have thrown it to first. Second time ever, Philadelphia. That's how Philly sports goes. But the 76ers are now our only hope, and there's a couple of things we got to talk about. First things first, my friends, before we give you hope, before we talk about anything positive, we got to talk about the negative. And I'm not going to overreact to this, but it is just so Sixers. VJ Edgecombe did not practice yesterday. He had some left hip soreness, according to the Sixers. And another page here says he will be a Tony Jones NBA, covering the Sixers and the NBA for The Athletic. He will be evaluated today, and a determination on his status for tomorrow night's game against the Magic will be made. I haven't seen the evaluation on his status, so we don't know if VJ Edgecombe is going to play in the preseason game tonight against the Orlando Magic. But what better way to start off your Philadelphia 76ers career than missing practice with hip soreness? Again, I'm not going to overreact to that. It's probably just, the preseason doesn't matter. We've seen what we've seen from VJ Edgecombe in the Summer League and in a couple of preseason games. He has elite athleticism. His offensive game needs a lot of work, I personally think. I think he's going to get more comfortable as the season goes on. But his perimeter creation, he's airballing threes and things like that, it needs work. But he doesn't have to play every preseason game. That's probably what this is. I don't know how he got hip soreness in the first place. I didn't see him fall or anything like that. But Sixers fans are just all too used to this. Jared McCain can't stop getting injured ever since he put on a 76ers jersey, which is becoming sad. The Joel Embiid thing, we're not even going to talk about. The Paul George thing, we're not even going to talk about. Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon last season, Nick Nurse couldn't figure out that it's because they were 40 years old. They just called it an injury bug. And our rookie comes in, plays 2 preseason games, and has hip soreness. That's just so Sixers. And don't forget, he got hurt in the Summer League too. He played 1 Summer League game, and then he missed like the next 3 with, I forget what that was, a calf strain or something like that. So, hopefully this is just like it's precaution. Hopefully they just clear him for tonight. And we'll hear a little bit later about, I think, the availability of Quentin Grimes for tonight's preseason game. I really hope we get to see Quentin Grimes, VJ Edgecombe, and Tyrese Maxey on the floor together tonight. But we will see. And now to the positives. We got word that Joel Embiid was doing some 5-on-5 practice, which I didn't expect at all. And we didn't get any word. This was yesterday, earlier in the morning. We didn't get any word on Paul George besides what he said at Media Day, which was that he's doing, individual drills and hasn't really done basketball activity yet. Yesterday, this surfaced, Paul George practicing and full contact practicing. And this was a one-on-one session that they were having at the end of practice. But Paul George moving, pivoting, turning, spinning, Vintage Paul George right here. And he doesn't look to be having any issues at all. He had the knee surgery a couple of months ago. I'm not a doctor, but I'm going to say Paul George looks 100% right here. I'm going to say Paul George looks 100%, you know, and it's going to be one of those things where every day they're going to be evaluated to see if they're having knee pain or swelling, and that's going to continue probably the whole season, Paul George and Joel Embiid. But Paul George looks healthy, guys. Here he goes against Tyrese Maxey. Hey, look, that's a miss. I mean, that's a tough shot, and that's good defense from Tyrese Maxey, too. Paul George in these clips looks healthier than he looked all last season. Oh my God, is Eastwood being the positive one? Paul George in these clips looks healthier than he looked all season. He looks healthier than he looked all season. Might have been a foul on Tyrese right there. And I think he called a foul. Tyrese shook his head. He looks healthier than he looked all last season. And we got another clip here of Paul George, I believe, in a one-on-one situation. I think there's one against Justin Edwards. Yeah, right here. Let's check this one out. Here's Paul George again. That's the drive with the left. Paul George looks healthy, and we all know. I've said what I've said about Paul George, right? But I think I always keep it 100. I didn't like his lack of effort last season. I thought a lot of times he looked like he completely didn't care, and he looked like he was just out there collecting a check. But I've never shied away from saying what Paul George brings to the 76ers when he's healthy and when he cares, right? And I am willing to throw everything Paul George did last season on the fact that he wasn't 100%. Once he hyperextended that knee, that was it. You could tell mentally even if he was 100% throughout the season, which I don't think he was, but even if he had games where he felt 100% physically, mentally he wasn't the Paul George that I think he's probably used to being. And it probably hyperextending a knee on your way to the basket will do something to you. So, you know, maybe time plus feeling better physically has helped him get over what he was dealing with, I think, mentally driving to the rim last season. He just didn't look aggressive, and it looked like he was straight up timid, scared to hyperextend the knee again. So what he looks like in practice right now, we might actually get the Paul George that we signed up for when we signed him 2 off seasons ago to that free agent contract, which was a high-level number 3 scorer, right? Elite perimeter defender, a facilitating ability that I don't think people talk about enough with Paul George. And don't forget, the season prior where he played 74 games for the Clippers, he was the highest catch-and-shoot three-point shooter in the entire NBA at 45.4%. I am actually getting hopeful that the 76ers have a healthy Paul George this season. And will he ever be a number 1 superstar level player again? No. But healthy Paul George is a damn good third option. We got to say it. We have to say it. Now, we don't have any clips of Joel Embiid practicing at this practice, but there are some quotes from Nick Nurse on Joel Embiid after this practice yesterday also. So we're going to talk about that. Here's Nick Nurse on Paul George. He said, I hate that I can't, dude, my Zoom. I want it to be between 150 and 125, and it won't. Anyway, producer, you're fired. Nick Nurse on Paul George, he said, yeah, he is progressing. They're still working out some things. He did some of the stuff early in practice as well today, so that's also progression. Early stuff, 5-on-0 stuff, but we did see 1-on-1 stuff from Paul George. And Nick Nurse tells us that so that there will be boxes to check. So we're still going with this year's Sixers slogan, which is checking boxes. But Paul George looks like he's getting close to playing basketball. I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to be disappointed if this ends in them playing, 20 games each again. The Sixers do have 2 preseason games. Nurse was non-committal on George being ruled out if he plays either game. Nick Nurse said, I wouldn't say yes or no to any of that. I don't know. I think this was a step in the right direction, and we'll see how fast it comes along. I personally wouldn't expect Paul George to play in any preseason games. There's no reason for it. Even if he was 100%, there's really no reason for it, given the injury history and the fact that he hyperextended his knee in the preseason. Last season, maybe it's bad juju, so I wouldn't expect Paul George or Joel Embiid to play in any preseason games. I want them to be ready for week 1. I mean, for week 1, like I'm talking NFL games. I want them to be ready for game 1 against the Celtics. That's what I personally want. I still probably don't expect that to happen. If they are healthy for game 1, I will be shocked. But this is a step in the right direction. As for Embiid, the Sixers stated Wednesday that he's continuing to progress. He did practice on Wednesday, but his recovery time is going to be slow as Philadelphia looks for him to be near 100%. I don't think Joel Embiid's ever going to be 100%. And integrate him everything he wants to do. Here's what Nick Nurse said on Joel Embiid. I just think he's got to get to a point where they're happy with the amount of load he can take and the recovery part as well on top of it. Happy with the amount of load he can take. Let's go ahead and start that one over, Nick Nurse. We're going to crumble that up and throw it in the trash. Hey, yo. And progressing that way. If I'm sure there's strength issues and all that kind of stuff, just to make sure that it's responding to everything well, why would he say I'm sure there's strength issues? He did some 5-on-5. I think that's what they told you yesterday. So, again, we are progressing. I think we're continuing to move forward. I think that was a starting point, right? Like practice yesterday, and again, he did things today. He didn't do nothing today, right? So he was out there today again for some of the 5-on-0 stuff and some of the early stuff in practice. So we're just kind of trying to keep moving along depending on how they're reacting to everything. And listen, I know what some of you are going to say. This is what they did last year. This is the same thing. They're just blowing smoke up our ass. They're just saying what we want to hear, progressing, recovering, taking it day by day, checking boxes, etc. And you guys know I'm the first one to be like, fuck this. This is bullshit. I'm the first one. But this is more than we have seen and heard from Joel Embiid last season, last offseason. So this is making me feel a little bit better about this upcoming season, especially Paul George being healthy. The chances of the 76ers being fully healthy this season is still probably the lowest chance of any team in the NBA, but I feel like the chance is higher than it was last year. If that's progress, that's progress. Thank you guys for tuning in. Preseason tonight, Orlando Magic. We're doing it live right here on YouTube with a live watch along and the live post-game live show, and you can call the show after the game. I'll see you there.